And now back to that big story. A procession is underway to honor retired Sheriff's Deputy Larry Henderson, who was hit and killed while directing traffic at UC's graduation just 1 week ago.
Yes, so this morning is the first of two processions that will be happening today. In addition to his funeral and a graveside service, we are leading the way with live team coverage of it all for you, including the first procession this morning. It is making its way through 275 right now. We want to get over to Stephen Albritton, who's live at Spring Grove Cemetery, where this procession started.
Kelly and Megan, actually just the last of the procession just left. A couple of vans with some Cincinnati police cars probably heading towards the Cintas Center, maybe even over to Anderson Township. But we want to show you what happened just about 20 minutes ago. And I'm not kidding when I say dozens, likely at least 100 cars following Deputy Larry Henderson off to the Cintas Center. It started with this one sheriff vehicle out front. Next thing you know, you have probably about 20 motorcycle officers, and then you see the hearse that has Deputy Larry Henderson inside. And then behind him, his brothers and sisters and law enforcement from all over the place. We saw Monroe County, we saw CPD, of course, we saw fire trucks, we saw ambulances, we saw the bomb squad, we saw a SWAT vehicle. So many people impacted by his life, by his service, not only to law enforcement, but also to his community. We've seen and heard so many stories about what he's meant to the community, from just taking in his neighbor's trash can every single week, from following up to a store robbery that happened years ago, but still coming to say hello and letting him know that he is there for them. Deputy Henderson on that processional now heading towards Anderson Township. Kelly, Megan, I know we're all watching where this is headed before those moments really get to the heart of Deputy Larry Henderson.
All right, Stephen. Yes. And of course, as we know, they are heading over to Anderson Township. This is an area where he has spent much of his career, much of his life interacting with the public and working. So there is a special group of people that will be gathering there for people to be able to see and send him off ahead of that second public viewing that is prepared for 9 to 11 at the Cintas Center. Right now, we're taking a live picture of 275. Stephen mentioning just the amount of vehicles that were heading from Spring Grove over to Anderson Township. Hundreds, he said, and we are seeing just a small portion of that procession. This is the camera there at 275, as you can see, right near New Richmond, right near 52.
Yes, our reporter Nicole Ponte, we're going to get to in a moment here, said that they have not reached her just yet, but that procession, as you mentioned, headed to Anderson Township. And it's going, as you saw, along 275.
Let's check in now with Nicole this morning. Again, Anderson Township, an area where he worked, where a lot of the memories of him have come from, as people have been telling us about their encounters with Deputy Henderson. Nicole.
You know, Kelly and Megan, it is amazing to see this show of community in front of this fire station. And then right behind here, too, is that District 5, where that was the last post that he was working at before he retired from the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office just 4 months ago. You can see those first responders lined up right here. We have all of those Anderson Township fire trucks and fire vehicles in front, too. We see many people with American flags, with their children, with their entire family, because they think this is such an important moment of seeing Deputy Larry Henderson on his way to the Cintas Center. Now, this is where he spent most of his career, but just hearing all of these communities' messages of how much he has treated so many people with kindness and respect over the years, not only while on the force, but also while just in every single day life, picking up trash cans for people, making sure everyone is okay, checking in. I was reading this morning some of the other comments that we've heard from many of the other people over the past week or so. It has been quite amazing to see. He's always a listening ear to people as well. Okay. They actually are coming right now. Step out of the way. We see some of those sheriff's vehicles right down there. I believe they're waiting for the rest of the procession to come by. All right, so actually those are just sheriff's vehicles coming by us right now, and we're going to keep a close eye too, because, you know, when we see those flashing lights, we do think that procession is coming. We're still going to keep an eye out, though. Our producers are checking different cameras, and I know Stephen was talking about how at Spring Grove Cemetery we saw many people really show up, and all these deputies and officers too. Megan and Kelly, I'll send it back to you, but we're keeping a close eye. Tons of first responders and community members out here today to show support for Larry Henderson.
All right, Nicole, thank you so much. Yes, we want to allow Nicole to get into place. So as that procession comes past, we know that there is a group of motorcycles that will lead the procession. We want to just talk a little bit about who Deputy Larry Henderson is and who he has been to this community. He has served on the for the sheriff's office for 33 years. He started in 1991. He had just retired within the last year, but he served on the bomb unit, the dive team, the SWAT team, and he retired in December. So he continued working special details, which is what he was doing a week ago for UC's graduation.
Yeah, and his connection to UC just goes so much farther beyond just directing traffic. I mean, he would travel to football games with the team. I know that the deputy athletic director, Maggie McKinley, was telling me stories of how he would go out to the Peach Bowl, to these things, and allow the football team to feel safe, allow some of those UC members and faculty members to feel safe going out on the road for some of these events. And so the amount of things that he was involved with in this community are exponential. We are now taking a look at 275. You know, Katie Donovan is tracking this procession. She's been looking at different traffic cameras, and you can see some of those emergency vehicles are now headed there, headed west on 275. This is at 8 Mile Road. And, you know, this is just one of the places that they are going throughout the day.
Yes, for anyone who maybe is watching who lives in Anderson Township would still like to head outside, you do still have some time. They will be heading off of 275 at Beachmont. They will travel down Beachmont, where we saw Nicole was live with a lot of the people who will be part of the procession to say farewell to Deputy Larry Henderson. They will head up Wolf Angle over State Road, back down on 5 Mile, and then they will head on to the Cintas Center. If you're not able to be part of the procession, we also know that the public visitation is at the Cintas Center from 9 to 11 this morning. Then the funeral will take place. Stephen Albritton just telling us that hundreds of vehicles are part of this procession. So also, if you're getting ready to head out the door and some of these things are part of your morning commute, there may be some slow spots. There may be areas where you're not seeing any other traffic get through, and that is likely because of this first procession. Again, a little bit more about Deputy Larry Henderson. He was a father of 5, a foster parent, a grandparent, obviously a loved husband, a 1985 graduate of Marymount High School. So he had very, very deep ties to this community, which is just a little bit about why you are seeing such an outpouring of support that we are seeing throughout the community. So those vehicles continue to go along 275 there at 8 Mile. Our Nicole Aponte stationed in Anderson Township, waiting for the procession to arrive there. They're heading through there because, again, this is a community where he served for a very long time and where he had a lot of deep connections.
Yeah, we talk about his service to this community, but he was also in the Marine Corps. He served during the Gulf War. He has connections to so many different communities, whether it be because of his time with the Sheriff Department or because of his time in the Marines. And so we're going to take a live look along this procession route. We know Nicole Aponte is standing by, and as you could see, there are folks there who are already out there sharing flags, the thin blue line flag on the American flag right there, and people paying their respects to this fallen officer. Of course, all of this happening 1 week ago when he was killed in an accident. That man now charged with aggravated murder in that case, Rodney Hinton Jr.
And if you are not able to be part of this first procession, again, they'll head to the Cintas Center. Let's check in now in Anderson Township as the procession makes its way past Substation 5 there in Hamilton County.
And there you just saw Nicole Aponte getting ready, kind of giving us a sense of what she saw as that procession went through.
Obviously, so many people lining the streets there in Anderson Township. Let's check back in with Nicole this morning because, Nicole, we could see people clapping, and I know sirens were going, people just wanting to do anything they can to say farewell to Deputy Larry Henderson.
Kelly and Megan, if silence spoke 1,000 words when we were standing right here on Beach 1 Avenue, we saw those firefighters, those first responders saluting as Deputy Henderson drove by us. We saw hundreds of those first responder cars. I even saw things from Newport, right? That's in Kentucky. But we have seen so many of this community, these families come out this morning to pay their respects to Deputy Henderson. You could hear a pin drop on Beach 1 Avenue as this procession drove by us. And, still so many people here talking about how devastating this loss is for our community because Deputy Henderson showed up for people no matter what. While he was in the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, while he was a security detail for the UC Athletics as well. But we have seen many people here really congregating, talking about what an impact he had on our community. We have seen lots of people here this morning. Some people speaking to me really before this procession really took off, and they were saying that there were no other place they would rather be than standing right here because of what an amazing person Larry Henderson was, but really seeing this come by. It is a very emotional day for not only this community, for Henderson's family, for these law enforcement agencies all across our area, and they're doing what they can to pay respects for Deputy Henderson. Kelly and Megan.
All right, Nicole, thank you so much. And again, that funeral procession is heading over to the Cintas Center at Xavier's campus. A public visitation will go from 9 to 11 this morning. His funeral will take place, and then Deputy Henderson will head back to Spring Grove Cemetery, where he'll be laid to rest. There will also be a burial service there that we will be able to carry live for you for anyone who wants to be part of these moments that are honoring him but can't be there personally. All of that will start at about 11 o'clock this morning. Remember, again, you can see that full schedule ahead of our coverage, as well as the second processional route. If you would like to be part of it about lunchtime, that is all over at WLWT.com.